Hey gang, and welcome back. This week we're going to count down my top 10 favorite EDH equipment cards. Through the magic of equipment, oftentimes we're able to grant our generals and creatures abilities that they might not otherwise be able to access in their colors. Whether it's granting our creatures haste, protection, trample, or whatever, chances are most EDH decks will have space for at least one or two equipment cards in their 99. My honorable mention for top equipment cards in EDH goes to Sword of the Animist. Offering non-green decks a repeatable way to cast Rampant Growth every combat step is a powerful effect. I would always consider running it even without the fact that it gives +1/+1 to the equipped creature. But rather than sit here and gush over all of the equipment cards that I love, we're going to count it down to my top 10. So let's begin. Number 10, Swiftfoot Boots. I was still playing Standard when Magic 2012 came out. Hexproof had recently become an evergreen ability, and it was incredibly strong when compared to Shroud. The idea that a lot of Voltron commanders who were running Lightning Greaves could now suddenly be able to equip stuff after the fact of equipping these boots was a huge deal. However, despite the striking similarities between Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves, the fact that you have to pay 1 mana to equip it can often be a deal breaker. As such, despite the fact that it offers Hexproof, which is significantly better than Shroud, I would still rank this lower than Lightning Greaves. Number 9. Lightning Greaves. Everything I said about Swiftfoot Boots remains true. Granting our creatures protection and haste at sorcery speed is a very powerful effect for only 2 colorless mana. However, what puts Boots over Greaves for me is the fact that you can equip it for 0 mana. Yes, in the case of Voltron commanders, you have to put other stuff on their commander first before equipping Greaves, but there have been often times where I'm able to kill a player as long as I'm able to swing once and get them when they're undefended. You might not necessarily be able to do this when your general costs so much mana to recast and then you have to pay an additional 1 to give it haste. The downside of both of these stylish shoes is the fact that an opponent can respond at any time to the equipment and use removal on the creature, wasting your time. Number 8. Sword of the Meek. Now, I'm pretty sure you're confused at this point, since Sword of the Meek is not a traditional equipment that a lot of people run to stick on their commanders or creatures. However, I do think it has a place on this list, as Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundry is a powerful combo in Esper EDH. Considering Brea's rise in popularity, I would not be surprised to see people's list running this as a secondary combo should she get hated out. Number 7. Umbral Mantle. By itself, Umbral Mantle will do nothing, let's face it. If you're running to give your creature vigilance, there are much cheaper and easier ways to do so. What Umbral Mantle does bring to an EDH deck is a way to essentially generate infinite mana with a creature. If you combine this in a Krenko deck with a card like Ashnod's Altar and Krenko himself, you have an easy way to make infinite tokens. And it does even more work in an elf deck where you're able to tap card like Priest of Titania or Elvish Archdruid to make almost infinite mana, assuming you're able to tap them for more than 3. Although very specific in what decks will run it, Umbral Mantle is able to take the deck to new heights, assuming it's able to resolve with one of those creatures on the field. Number 6. Illusionist's Bracers. Anytime you see a creature or a commander with an activated ability and you think to yourself, that's a pretty good ability, chances are Illusionist Bracers are the equipment for you. For only 2 colorless mana and 3 mana to equip it, this is able to double any of those abilities. To name a few commanders that would really enjoy having this card in their 99, let's go down the list. Krenko, Experiment Kraj, Geth, Lord of the Vault, Bryon Stoutarm, Riku of 2 Reflections, because doubling things once just isn't enough. The list goes on, and those are only commanders. The sky is really the limit with this card. Number 5. Nim's Deathmantle. I covered this card a little bit in my Brea primer, going over an infinite combo that allows you to basically win with Brea and Ashnod's Altar on the field. One of the easiest ways to go infinite with this card is to have Ashnod's Altar on the field, but you needn't limit yourself to only making tokens. Did you know that cards like Murderous Redcap can be thrown into the mix to cause infinite damage to players or creatures? But beyond just being a simple combo piece sitting on the board, it can also give one of our creatures +2/+2, be used to save valuable utility creatures, and to top it all off, it makes our creature into a zombie. Number 4. Umezawa's Jitte. I would wager this is probably the strongest equipment card currently in Legacy. It does pretty much everything you want it to, be it life gain, removal, or pumping your creature. However, what keeps Umezawa's Jitte higher off my list is the fact that you have to do combat damage to generate any of the counters on it. This is an issue with almost any equipment card, but Umezawa's Jitte falls farther behind because you need to be able to do some damage before it does anything at all. Number 3. Skullclamp. Skullclamp is without a doubt probably my favorite equipment card in all of EDH and possibly all of Magic. However, that doesn't necessarily make it a good fit for a top 10 EDH list. Thankfully, the proof is in the pudding with Skullclamp, and I'm pretty sure anyone who's ever played this card with any kind of token generation knows how powerful it can be. Frankly, it doesn't even have to be in a token deck. Any deck that relies on creatures dying, which is a lot of EDH decks, will gain some kind of benefit from this. It just happens to really synergize well with tokens. Costing only 1 to cast and 1 to equip, but being able to draw you 2 cards on death is a powerful effect, and let's face it, drawing cards is one of the best things you can do in EDH. Number 2. Sword of Feast and Famine. Now, I may have come across a bit harsh when I was speaking on Umezawa's Jitte about equipment cards. 9 out of 10 times you'll have to be able to connect with a creature in order to generate some kind of value out of these equipment. Thankfully, Sword of Feast and Famine, in addition to its powerful effect of forcing an opponent to discard and untapping all of our lands on combat damage, gives our creature protection from black and green, and +2/+2. Add in the fact that it only costs 2 to equip and 3 to cast, and you have a nice little package. And last but not least, number 1, Sword of Fire and Ice. It should come as no surprise that one of the Swords of line of cards is my number 1 pick for top EDH equipment card. Early game, it's able to turn unthreatening creatures like Birds of Paradise into threats that people need to deal with immediately. The 2 damage it deals might not look like much, but it's able to kill other mana dorks, and all of a sudden it can turn our 0/1 into a 4 damage dealing creature per combat step. Additionally, you're able to drown yourself in card advantage, drawing an extra card every combat step, which, unless you're facing against Nekasar and at 1 life, is never something you don't want. All of this in a bag of potato chips, Sword of Fire and Ice with its new art from Modern Masters is my number 1 pick for top EDH equipment card. Wolfgang, how would you rate this list? Where would you rank the cards should you not agree with my placement? Would you have added anything that I didn't? Please let me know in the comments below. Tune in every Monday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for more primers, top 10s, and gameplay videos. And as always, thank you for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.